Hello, beloveds. This is Cynthia, and I'm excited to have Kim and Valencia with me today. Welcome,
Hello.
ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
So, today I thought I'd share and we could talk about maybe kind of as I'm sharing, you guys can get your thoughts coming out a little bit, but about the pillar of salt and looking back, right, at your past. So, the thing that when I first got saved, went back when I was 19, I wrote this song called Don't Look Back at Your Past. Those days are gone, you know? Um, that Jesus was kind of opening up this my vision of, but I just wrote it. But in the teachings of like people say, yo, you're a new creation and
Mm-hmm.
old things are passed away, all things become new. But through my healing experience over the years, God has taken me back to my past to bring healing.
Mhm.
So, and I used to question, I'm like, at one point we're saying don't look back, but I feel like Lord, you're telling me to look back. So what's going on here? What?
Hmm.
And wait a minute, when Lot's wife turned and looked back,
Ooh,
she be,
yeah.
she became a pillar of salt. What is that all about? Well, so then a few weeks back, and I might have shared this a little bit, but a few weeks ago, I and I've been through a lot of healing. There's times that I'll go in and out of things of where I think God's getting ready to take me through another deeper phase of healing in my life, right? And I had these thoughts going through my head, and I just noticed, like, why am I thinking that? And it was like, and I think prior to that, I was asking God, why are we said not to look back, and then we're told, then you walk us through back? And He said, well, I was hearing all these thoughts of like, if I would have done this different,
Mm.
Hmm.
if I would have, if and I've talked to lots of people who say like they the point in their life where, oh my gosh, I screwed up so bad and I don't know how to go back, and they're stuck back there because I want to change it and I can't change it. I can't. It,
Hmm.
so it's like what's happened. How do you move forward from that? And I was as I was processing that through my head, I felt like the Lord just said to me, He goes, "That's what I mean by not looking back at your past, being in
Not
regret."
looking back. Yeah.
And are wishing it could change, or are dreaming or visualizing it if it was something different when it wasn't. It's accepting what happened,
Hmm.
but now where, so that you don't move forward in that same perception or that same hurt or that same character or being, right? That He's saying, let me bring it to me. Let's forgive who you need to forgive yourself, whatever it is,
Hmm.
right? And move forward.
Forgiving yourself
Yeah.
is a big piece of it,
Yes.
almost always.
Yeah. So it's like looking
Wow.
back where you're in regret and wishing it was different. It can't
So
be different. It will not be different.
Lot's
We can't
wife,
change
when
it.
she
Mhm.
looked back,
Yes.
wanted to go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not what this is about. It's not
No.
ever wanting to go back. It's just recognizing it happened
Mm-hmm.
and the Lord brought you out of it,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't need to have that same perspective.
Yeah. It's a different. I think it's well, and I even think for a lot, you don't really know why she looked back. It doesn't say that she wanted to go back. She
It's
looked back.
true.
So I'm thinking that maybe it was because she. I mean, kind of what we do, and do we turn into pillow? Like, what does that pillar of salt represent?
Mm.
Even we get stuck, or we're
Hmm.
standing and we don't
Mhm.
move forward because we're looking back. We're constantly thinking about the past.
Oh, and that's not good
Well,
either.
You know what
I
I'm
just
saying?
it
Does that
just
make sense?
came to mind, but
Yeah.
like, why is it not a pillar of concrete? Right? It's a
Yeah.
pillar of salt,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
think about,
That's a great
you know
question.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, he could have made her a pillar of anything, um, but it was a pillar of salt. And I think the difference
Mm-hmm.
is that salt is spoken about biblically, like
Yeah.
that is a positive thing. It
Mm-hmm.
preserves, it adds flavor, it's saying like, what do you do if salt loses its flavor? Then it's useless, right? So if you think about
Mm-hmm.
salt kind of being seized up in a pillar, it's all this potential,
Mm.
Mm.
but it's not accessible really. Like you can't use it because its potential is frozen. And so I wonder if that
That's powerful.
has something to
Mhm.
do with why salt and not a pillar of something else, right?
Mhm.
And if we don't possibly take on some of that, maybe that's why we're not supposed to look back. It's because it seizes up your potential to
Mhm.
add
definitely.
flavor, to add life, to
Oh,
preserve.
it makes so much sense. I mean, when you think about it, if you're, you know, oh man, if I would have done that different, or if I could have been in a different place,
Yeah.
or if I would have known what I know now, I've heard that too. If I would have known then what I know now, well,
Yeah.
that was part of your journey,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That's part of our journey to grow.
You
And
know now because you didn't know, and then you did the other thing,
Yeah.
and then you experienced the pain or whatever struggle came
Right.
from it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what taught you. Now you know for the next
Yeah.
time, opportunity, challenge, etc.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm. That's really powerful. I think that's a great way because you can become stagnant
Mm-hmm.
and not really grow. And I think each time, and that's something I've shared with people. Like when the Lord's taking you through healing, and if He's having you look at it, there will be freedom and healing,
Yes.
and you get freedom. But if you're looking back and there's no freedom, stop looking back. Go to Jesus. Say, how do I move forward?
Yeah.
How do I move forward with you? So that's something.
So you've looked in the past
Absolutely.
and you've shared with other people
Mm-hmm.
about the past. How has that brought change? What has it brought?
Freedom. Like when I had to look back at, I had this pattern in my life of rejection and never fitting in, never feeling a part of anything.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand that it was a pattern in my life. And I didn't realize that I was still living belief systems that I had in my head, right?
Mhm.
Belief systems that are in my core. But it stemmed from when I was a little girl at 5. So God, when I was going through a prayer, I was at a conference and I went up for prayer, and I had this God took me, and I was asking Him, I was seeking Him, saying, if you want me to, and I felt like the Lord created me that way, and I was supposed to live a life alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the Lord took me back. He said, nope, here's what happened when you were 5. And I saw the attack of the enemy on my life, and it wasn't people. It was really an assignment of Satan against my being. I was 5 years old to keep me living in rejection, abandonment, and fear.
Mhm.
And I saw it. Like I heard the enemy speak to me when that little girl got locked inside of a church.
Wow.
And nobody around. It was at nighttime from a service, and nobody was around, and I'm pounding on the door. It's pitch black in there. Nobody, my mom, and nobody's coming. And then I heard the enemy whisper to me. I didn't know at the time. I was 5 years old. You weren't wanted. You're not part of this family. Nobody wanted you.
Hmm.
You'll never fit in. So it was that lie.
Mm-hmm.
But it took so the pattern was there from that time point. And all of a sudden I saw it, and I grieved. And that's part of the thing in that. I grieved. I just cried and cried and cried as that little girl again. It was like I was crying again. But this time Jesus was comforting me.
Yeah.
This time I felt His comfort. And He's like, I'm here. I have not abandoned you. And then I went through the scriptures where it was like, you're not abandoned. Like, I have
I'll
not
never leave you or forsake
your
you.
mother and father forsake you. I've not
Mhm.
abandoned you. And so I've not forsaken you. And so it's like here that He took me to look at it, and I come out of that, and I just wanted to hug everybody. And I felt alive again, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and everything shifted then. Then is when I started connecting to other people and women.
Okay.
And that spirit was gone.
Wow.
It was powerful. So that the Lord took me through it, to look back at that, but not where I wanted to understand why I believed what I believed
Mhm.
about how I was living my life and what I was experiencing still to that day.
Hmm.
And then after that, it totally changed.
Yeah.
And I was in my 30s, my late 30s.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it took you wanting to do that too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You were willing, you were seeking
I was
it.
open to seek the truth about what's like, and even to say that I would accept if you're telling me this is how I'm going to be in life, that this is what you created me to be this way. Even as an intercessor, I love to pray. If I have to intercede and pray on my own for other people, I will do that. If this is what you call me.
Yeah.
And Lord, if I'm believing a lie, then
Tell me
show
that
me.
too. Yeah.
But this is where I'm at right now. And He took me right there.
Wow.
And it was like, you didn't call me to be alone. You want me to be with others.
Aw.
You want us to all, and he's like, I created family. Like, I mean, it was just this most beautiful, loving experience with him. And I realized that he never called any of us to be alone. And so that's kind of that was a very huge shift. I mean, I've had many of them, but I mean, like, that was huge. And I can tell even to this, like when we're walking through life, I can tell like when the more you get to know his character and his kingdom principles and who he is, holy, righteous, glorious, like he's not condemning in the sense of we're condemned if we're in sin. Okay. It's not because it's sin that separates us from the Lord. And so when there's darkness that's hovering in our hearts and everything, it's like the more you get to know him, the more you're like, how come I don't experience that? How come I not experience it? Lord, is there something I believe that's not lining up? Is there something you want me to change in my perception of things? And is there something did I buy into something from, that's not really true? And that's the questions I ask. And sometimes something will happen. I can tell when I'm like the fruits of the spirits. I line it up with Galatians 5. Look at the fruits of the spirit. Are you operating out of those? How do you minister to people? How you talk to people? And a lot of times, I have to question myself saying,
which one?
that I don't think I'm operating out of any of those fruits right now.
Yeah.
So I need to, Lord, something's going on here. I need to shift. So what is it? And why am I doing that? Why do I think that that's okay? Or that,
So it's a awareness,
yes,
truth of the present,
mm-hmm.
and then trusting the Lord to let you look back with him.
Mm-hmm. To be released from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be free from it. Yeah.
Yeah. To get mobile again, right?
Yeah.
Like so you're not seized up.
Yeah.
And then your potential gets to come back out again.
Yeah.
Which it has, clearly.
Yes. Yeah.
It has.
It's amazing.
You're doing great things. He does great things with you, right? So, and we all have that potential too. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
If we can trust him to hold our hand through it.
He's so good. And he's very gracious. And one of the fruits is long suffering. So it's like not, and I think the enemy gets to believe, that he's to fear being that vulnerable with the Lord. But it takes time too. I mean, I look over the seasons of my life and I can see, oh man, I used to do a lot. Oh man, Lord, you were so gracious to me. Like he really was. And nothing, he saw me where I was going to be.
Yeah.
He sees us where we're going to be.
I love that.
Thank goodness.
Anyway, thanks for listening, y'all.